Get ready. Well, oh my God, everybody, welcome back. It's been, God, ever since Joe became decrepit, we haven't been able to do a show in forever. And I'd like to welcome everybody to another segment of The Conspiracy Keepers with Joe Monaco, Scooter McGee, and oh my God, we've got Jackie Selby here with us as well. Jackie, welcome.
Well, thank you.
It is so good to see somebody else starting to drink the Kool-Aid. I've got your email address, but I'm also needing your home address so I can send you the getting into a fetal position sleeping bag, because once you're done with this, you'll be curling up, and
I see.
It's a little weird. It'll be a little weird for you. I'm so glad you're here, though. Gentlemen.
It's a little weird for
Good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back.
Yes, this is so cool. I'm so glad to have Jackie here, because you know what? It's so hard to find people that get it, that knows what's going on now. Jackie knows what's going on, and we've added another member to our team of people whose eyes are opened and understand what's going on in the world right now, which is not what most people think. So this is awesome for me and for all of us.
Scooter's just deep in thought.
Scooter's always deep in thought.
I don't know how you guys do this and look at the camera with the light ring and of my eyes. So hiya, Jackie. So
Hi. Just tell me where you're allowed to smoke like this indoors. Are you inside your own house, or are you in some?
Yeah, I'm in a federal facility violating one of just dozens of mandates. So let's at least encapsulate for listeners who may not or may not be aware of any of this. Jackie, Joe, I, and Backlash in various lives our paths have kept crossing. And most recently, a conversation came to light of, oh my God, I didn't know. And so I guess, Jackie, you should start, and then Joe jump in and fill in the blanks. And
Okay.
Since today's date is November 23rd, let's go from there and see where this goes.
All right. Well, let's see. You and I were talking about podcasting. You saw me talking about podcasting, and you got a hold of me, and then you said, hey, have you checked out the Conspiracy Keepers? I'm like, what? So I messaged Joe. I'm like, what? Wait, what? Why am I so late to the party in knowing this? Probably because after we worked together, I was out of there. They didn't keep me the whole time, and you were still on the air, with Alice.
Yeah,
so,
right. Remember that? I remember that.
You guys did this.
Well, I think that people like us are more likely to understand what's going on and get what's going on, because we've been in radio, we've been in this business for a long time. So we know that everything on the air isn't real. A lot of the callers aren't real. A lot of the stuff isn't real. We make up a lot of things. Some of it's real, some of it's not.
Hold the phone. Wait a minute.
I think we're
none
more
of the
likely.
Callers are real?
I didn't say none of them. I said a lot of them are. A lot of them are actors, right? We know that. So I think that we are more likely to understand what's going on in the world than most people will, because to most people, anything that they hear on the radio or see on TV, they take it at face value. It must be true. But we know that's not true. So I think we're more likely to understand what's going on and see what's going on than most people. So I think it's great that we're all together and can share this with everybody. My thoughts.
And knowing that Jackie just joined us with this, and these guys kind of talked to me, God, what is it, 20 years ago now, at least?
Has it been that long? Man.
It could be 18, somewhere in there. But so Jackie, when
it's
you
longer because of 96.5, the peak, the 80s and beyond, our paths started crossing in the 90s and the 2000s and beyond.
Okay. So Jackie, when you went onto the Conspiracy Keepers, what was the one thing that kind of opened your eyes and were like, oh my God, this rings true to me?
Well, truly, the one thing that got me is that my two friends from radio know the same things I do.
Right.
That was my gobsmacked moment. I'm like, oh my gosh, thank goodness, because talking to my regular friends.
I know.
No, in the last 2 years, I have lost friends.
Yeah.
Because I say, listen,
Yeah.
This is not real.
Right. I know. Right.
And So once I decided to study, esotericism, get into the occult and, follow metaphysics and, I read a whole bunch of books and I'm like, I'm so glad that my friends from radio back in the day get what's going on. So
Yeah,
So
yeah.
let's
Same thing with
delve-
me. Absolutely.
So let's delve into November 22nd, 1963. And who wants to start? Jackie, you lead. You're the fresh voice.
want me to lead this thing? Well,
Well,
First of
what
all-
happened? What's your opinion and your perception and your belief of the events that the narrative led with for almost 60 years of November 22nd, 1963?
First
What-
memory for me, because I was 3 years old, but I actually remember it. The Kennedy assassination. That was one of my first memories. So, wow. Wow. I mean, that's the whole way the whole world is really. Everybody remembers where they were when they were older, or if you're younger, that's one of your first memories.
all I can tell you is the fact that he was murdered, assassinated in a ritual
Yeah, that's right.
in front of the entire world. And now 58 years later, we're still sweeping it under the rug.
Yeah.
We as Americans and we as citizens of the world and we as human beings, for the love of mankind, why can't we grow up and discuss this and without people telling us we're full of it?
Right.
Why can't this be, exposed once and for all?
Yeah, I think a lot of the reason why is because a lot of the people that were in on it are still alive. A lot of them are dying. There's not as many as there were. So each year we get a little bit more information about, a little bit more. Once the George Bush Sr. died, he knew a lot about it because he was high up in the CIA at the time. So he knew all about it. So once he was gone, we start filtering a little bit more out. But look what they do. With every president, they promise us, oh, when this guy gets in, he's going to release the files. Oh, when he gets in, he's going to release the files. But you know what? They never do it. They never do it.
From what I understand, when Paleo, was with the president, was with Trump in August of 2017. He said, all right, are we going to do this thing or what? And they just couldn't. They were looking at the file going, Trump was like, I'm not doing this.
Right.
Still so much to disclose and so much damning information and so many secrets.
Yeah.
They're still afraid to this day that if they expose this to the American public and to the world, then society will collapse. Truly, because it's all linked to the one thing that scares them to death, and that's the UFO file.
Yeah.
And I agree with Jackie on all that, because once they open up the gates, then everybody's going to be like, well, I can't trust any politician.
We shouldn't be. I mean, we're living in a society that's completely schizo. I mean, one group controls the information and the money. So that's secret. And then the masses are still supposed to, 58 years later or 74 years later, from Roswell, we're supposed to just truck along and believe that these things didn't happen. We need to grow up and show some backbone and get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that was interesting is Joe Kennedy, Jack Kennedy's father. He was basically a mobster himself, into all kinds of illegal bootlegging and fixing the stock market. So he was one of them way back in the day. He said something that was very interesting. If people really understood this, they would understand the world that we live in. Joe Kennedy said, 50 people run the world, and that might be a high number. If people ever understood that the small group of people control everything, the money, the movie industry, the entertainment industry, the politicians, if we ever understood that a small group of people control this whole thing, things would start making sense to people. That things don't happen by accident or coincidence. They're set up. They're set up.
It's interesting that I was telling my sister, who, we're very close. We don't agree on very much, but we're very close. And I said, I was going to do this thing with the conspiracy keepers and talk about JFK anniversary. And she goes, what's the difference? Why bother? He's not coming back to life. He's still dead. I go, because it is important for people to know this information needs to come out so that we can, peel back the layers of what other things they're not telling us. I think that's so important. And I don't have anything to lose. You know what I'm saying? I really don't. I'm happy to be that person. I don't know if I was a warrior in another lifetime or something, but man, I just, it feels fun to talk about it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Scooter? Do we lose him?
No,
No,
no.
Okay.
choose your words. All right. In Joe, I'm gonna we've disagreed before. I disagree with you that, and Jackie, that, well, because some of the players are still alive. No, intergenerationally, the families that tie back to Joe and Jackie about the 50, there may be 50 at best, but they're the Gettys, the Rockefellers. There's the old money and then this attempt at new money and the inner battle there. But the reality is the family members are intergenerational bloodlines for a whole nother reason. That's another conspiracy. But their generations of family are in play in the global sphere of power, influence, and money. And until they are toppled and those, vaults and archives can be physically extricated and pull the documents and go here. But it frightens me more, even Jackie's sister, of what difference does it matter? And then it's to Orwell was right, that even when the people are shown the truth, they'll attack you to defend the lie. What difference does it matter who killed the president of the United States? I beg your pardon. What do you mean, what difference does it make? And I don't wish to say anything disparaging towards a possible newest cast member's family, because then that brings in the cat fight.
No.
Oh my God. And I presume a person of education, and yet we know that education is indoctrination. And there's a classic example of someone so indoctrinated, they will defend the lie to ridicule even a sibling of, what difference does that matter? What are you wasting your time for that for? Who cares? And I'm sorry, I'm mocking a conversation I wasn't a part of. That's why I was like, what? And then you went, Scooter, what do you think of like?
Well, it's, I think that she's not alone. There's a big,
Yeah.
big, big part of society that says there's nothing we can do about it now. Do you know what I mean? It's past, it's a long, long time ago. But you know what? To move forward as human beings, I feel like, and move forward with the technology and all the stuff that is being, that has been suppressed from us. Because if they can suppress who, killed Kennedy, they're suppressing so much. We need to have that as human beings, and we need to buck up. We need to raise that vibration and put this out.
Jackie, you and Joe both supposedly agree, or I heard in this conversation, that the events of Dallas 11/22/63 was a ritual killing.
Yep.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And what is, Jackie, what's your take of the fact that today is November 22nd, 2021, and Dealey Plaza is still unchanged? The landscape, all of it.
Yeah.
Joe,
Well,
of course, being there. Jackie, I don't know if you have, but what does that tell you in you identifying Dealey Plaza in Dallas as a ritual ceremony? What does that tell you about Dealey Plaza as it sits today?
It could have been anywhere. It doesn't matter that it was that place at that time. He had to go, and they had to set it up so that it fit into certain, structures.
Why preserve Dealey Plaza when everything else has been torn down and rebuilt twice?
Oh, well, gosh, that's a good question. I don't know that.
I'm asking you.
Yeah.
Have you been to Dealey Plaza? We know Joe has. Have you been to Dealey Plaza?
No, I haven't been.
Joe, your take.
Well,
what is it?
well,
what does it
I
tell
think,
you when it's pristine as the morning after?
well, anytime that you have any kind of ritual kill, if you really study the occult and how they think, these people are very twisted psychopaths, all of them. And we have a lot of high people in the government that are psychopaths and sociopaths that just don't care about anything but their own wealth and their own greed. So anytime you have a ritual killing like this, they want to preserve it. This is something cool to them. Look at what we did. And if you really study the occult, they do things by numbers. And as we've talked about before, 11 is a big number in the occult. That's why we have all those numbers of 11 surrounding the events of 9/11. We have the same thing, 11/22. 11s are multiples of 11s. They love those numbers because the 11, as far as the occult, signals in the Antichrist. The Bible calls him the 11th horn. Okay, so when they want to bring in their new world order that eventually they want run by the Antichrist, they're going to have events that are followed by the number 11. And Kennedy was kind of an enemy of the status quo. He wanted to get rid of the Federal Reserve. As a matter of fact, he had billions of dollars in United States notes printed up. He wanted to get us off the Federal Reserve System. He wanted to stop the war in Vietnam. He said, I'm going to fracture the CIA into a million pieces because the CIA is just a criminal organization. So he made a lot of people mad with a lot of power. And they said, we got to get rid of this guy. And no president since him has ever challenged the Federal Reserve because they know what's going to happen if they challenge the money system and who owns the money.
Oh no, they're pawns. Whoever they're now.
That's right.
It's even Truman, a month after the assassination, sent an opinion, and it was printed in the Washington Post. And it said, "Listen, the CIA is responsible for this killing."
Yeah.
And that night, Dulles the head of the CIA, jumps on a plane, goes down to St. Louis, and tries to tell old Truman, listen, you've got to recount that thing. He goes, I'm not recounting it. I'm an old fart. I've done my job, not afraid of you. And you know what? They tried to frame him as, losing his mind.
Yeah,
He's got Alzheimer's or something because of what he wrote. But you know what? That's what happens when you're trying to cover up stories and you're trying to preserve power. You just frame people or frame situations, and call people crazy.
Yeah, I think another interesting thing about Allen Dulles is because he was the one that really ordered the Bay of Pigs invasion, and he did it without Kennedy's approval on it. So Kennedy was pissed off at this and fired Allen Dulles. He says the CIA has too much power if they can do something like this and don't even tell the president. So Johnson goes and puts Allen Dulles on the Warren Commission, the guy who hated Kennedy. So this whole thing was a setup from beginning to end. Another thing you want to look at when you have an incident like this, you got to look at who benefited from this. And when you find who benefited from it, you find out who your perpetrators are. Who's the first guy that benefited? Lyndon Johnson. He became president. So that's where you find your perpetrators. Find out who benefited.
Sure. Well, he's perfect for the job because if you think about his vibration, you know what I mean, as a human being in that place in that time, I'm sure you're familiar with the statements that he would say to people in meetings,
Yes.
And he would flop out his,
Yep.
male member and say, who has to figure one of these?
Yeah.
Because
right.
his thing is that he's into power and he's into his own strength and height and his ability to, have power over people.
That's
and that's
right.
what to consider is that the higher vibration of these people is not very high. Actually, it's kind of low. And some would even say that it's it's off the planet. It's people who don't even live here, not even from here, that are controlling things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh God,
Backlash, how you doing over there? How you doing, buddy?
Did you just hear me say, "Oh God"?
Yes.
Like I was so excited that Jackie was just starting this journey, and she is so deep into it. I'm getting my wubby out, and I'm just going to sit here and listen and be quiet.
I think it upsets people greatly, and you're not the only one that it upsets.
Well, it is very upsetting when the veil gets pulled away. And these guys started tugging at the veil years ago with me, and it has definitely changed my outlook on a lot of things. The question that popped up when you and Joe both said it was a ritual. I myself at that point is like, okay, tell me a little more about the ritual itself or what this entailed, because yes, I completely agree that a lot of this was set up, and And Jackie, for your edification on all this is, I'm more of the guy that's coming in on the other side of being the doubtful, but now hearing three people talking the same speak is very upsetting. And of course, it happens to be just before Thanksgiving, so thank God I've got a lot of Jack lined up at the house and box of edibles, so I'm good.
I feel you. I feel sorry for people who, it doesn't matter at which angle you come at them. You can say, okay, do you believe that this organization is operating in your interest? You know what I mean? You could say that about so many angles of our current society. And they say, yeah, but you could say that about everything. One of my greatest friends, he said that to me, at the beginning of 2020, in like June of 2020, I was talking about this, that, and the other. And he says, well, that's true of every single thing in our society. I said, that's correct. You need to grow up. But for me, it's been fun because then it answers so many questions. You're like, okay, I get it. Oh my God.
Acquiescing to the Davos 2030 stripped of nothing and being happy. And Jackie, you just nailed, wait a minute, they lie about everything. Well, yeah, so well, wait a minute. You're acquiescing to knowing they're lying, and you're just going to try and figure out how to get through your way and come out the other side. No one comes out the other side faring well, thinking they're going to come out the other side if they go along to get along.
Yes, and we have to consider that each person takes this differently. And
okay, you'll be all right.
How's Monkey doing? Okay. But it's kind of, it's we have to do what our heart tells us. We have to do and say what, everything's a vibration. So if I say that too much, don't laugh at me. But everything is a vibrational deal.
It is.
And that's what people don't understand. They're like, this is the only life we have, and we're just going to have to protect it and, ignore things so we can eat our apples on Christmas,
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. People don't want to rock the boat. They are afraid of the truth. And the thing about the truth is, if you've lived a lie for so long, the truth will sound absolutely crazy to these people. Because you've been lied to for so long, the truth sounds crazy to them, and to them, the speaker of the truth sounds like a lunatic. I mean, that's what it is when you've been indoctrinated in a lie for so long. So we've just come to expect that. That's what's just going to happen. People aren't going to get it. That's why, Jackie, you're such a breath of fresh air, because you get it right away. You get it. I know you get it. Your eyes are open, and hardly anybody is.
Well, and that brings up, just from my perspective, and also for anybody that's joining us right now on Conspiracy Keepers, is, Jackie, you've been in the business for how many years? 30, 20?
Since I don't mind telling you, a long time, longer than 30.
Oh, okay. That helps. And then when was it that you started seeing all of this in the beginning? Because of course you were probably just going along, la 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 la, and then all of a sudden things started opening up. So there's got to be one of your aha moments.
Okay, one of my aha moments happened in the 70s because we had a conspiracy neighbor guy. And his name was Hank. And he would come over and try to tell my parents about what he found out about this. And he would go to the meetings, go to the societies, and remember this. And my parents were just like, oh, please, here comes Hank, everybody run. Because I didn't want to take time, people are busy. I can't talk about that right now, things like this. So I always knew there was something, because that guy was brilliant. He built his own planes. He did all these really wild and crazy things. And was an intelligent guy. And I just knew back then. Now, fast forward to high school. And then I was in a summer school course, and there were two hippie husband and wife that taught this social studies class. And I took it for credit so I could graduate from high school early. Drove my little car up there to the, high school, not the high school we went to. And we watched the Zapruder film at the beginning of every class. So for 6 weeks in a row, every day when you start the class. And what summer school is like 4 hours back then. It's not like you're on and gone. So we watched that movie over and over, and they would present the ideas that were presented in the 1979 House subcommittee on this situation. What was it called? The House Assassination Commission.
Yeah.
right? And they would present what was presented in that document. And we were like, so anyway, high school, I knew there was craziness going on. And then working in radio, are you kidding?
Yeah.
There's always something behind the veil. They tell you one thing. Am I right, Joe?
That's right.
Am I right, Scooter?
Absolutely.
And you're like, that is horse manure. They're not doing that because of this. They're doing that for another reason. So I've always been aware of these systems, the systems that are set up by people who aren't me.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm like you. I kind of knew things were different for a long time. I never bought the Kennedy assassinations, even since back in the 70s. So I knew that was a bunch of baloney, what they were. But I still didn't quite get everything. My eyes weren't completely opened until 9/11. Once they did 9/11, my eyes open. I'm thinking, you got to be kidding me. That official story they gave us. Are you trying to tell me a senile man on kidney dialysis orchestrated this whole thing from a cave in Afghanistan with nothing but a laptop and a bunch of hijackers, and they did it with nothing but box cutters? Are you kidding me? That was when the thing blew up in my face. I see it now. I see it's a big lie. So yeah, I'm kind of like you. I saw it for a long time, but that really opened my eyes, because that was so outrageous. It's such a big lie. It's like, how are they going to get away with this?
Okay, on that note, can I go there on 9/11?
Absolutely.
Before you do, just so you know, we're at a 7-minute mark, or 7:52. So I will let you know, but we can come back. Like I told you, we've got time. I'll send you the link.
All right.
But
So
yes.
on 9/11, Joe, I was in out of the country. I was on vacation in the UK. Long planned vacation. And so I witnessed 9/11 from another perspective, from watching the BBC. Okay, we weren't in the United States. And when they were showing the second building falling, and that video of everybody ducking, like when the second plane hit and stuff, I'm like, well, that's not real. How's that real? A little plane cannot make that whole building go down. I mean, it's insane. And I lived in Vegas when they used to destroy the old casinos, like the sand. It felt like this. I'm like, hi, that's what that looks like. So I don't know. I guess I've always been a person who just doesn't have anything better to lose. And by the way, I was fired for being overseas in from Alice when I got home.
Oh, really? I think I remember that.
When I got home from 9/11, of all that trauma, right, of being out of the country, you can't come home, blah, blah, blah. The whole country's freaking out. And I get home and I'm fired from my gig.
I remember that. Yes. Wow. My goodness.
I know I hate to name names, but the guy knows he messed up anyway.
Well, and Scooter, you had your hand raised. That was very nice of you, by the way.
That was Scotland, right?
Yes.
So the fallout, and then you come back and you're in my booth and I don't have it here. That's when you gave me the shot glass.
Oh, that's sweet of you to remember and still have it.
Well, because now we were, again, and Joe and Backlash, you get this. So it's all of the commotion of the nightclub, and everyone's trying to get back because this event has happened, and everyone's just so I'm one of the last to see it. We knew what was happening, of course, but she gets back, and I think that was whatever contractual you were there, but that was not a very good time. And I remember you said BBC, and I'm like, no, you were in Scotland. I remember this because you come back and we're in the booth, and all the monkey business is going on, but you and I were just sitting there talking at 150 decibels. Or whatever the heartthrob speakers were.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy, the history that we have now that we're all linking this together?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That was what was really opening my eyes. Yeah, I'm with you, Jackie. I mean, even not knowing what I know now, just watching those buildings turn to powder in like 10 seconds, I'm thinking, you got to be kidding me. This is obviously, as a matter of fact, all of the companies that are involved that do professional demolitions, there aren't very many of them. They knew right away. I mean, they weren't. It's like, oh, come on, that's a professional demolition. This didn't happen like they're telling us. But it just amazes me how many people are fooled by this.
And then meanwhile, Jackie, so in the halls of Entercom, back then, Joe and I, when not on the air or doing the nightclubs, I'll admit this, you don't, Joe, between George McFly's proximity card and Joe Lanier's proximity card, I'm sneaking in and getting pictures in the studio, we're building this whole thing. Now I start building the studio at Plaza Del Monaco on the 6th floor because we are destroying our livers trying to talk under confidence of what's going on in the real world. As Joe's right, we were seeing everything now in real time going, this is a lie. And we're not allowed to say anything. All right, F it. We'll just do it on our own. And that's where the whole, now to you, Backlash, to get us out of here on tape. That's where all this conspiracy keepers stuff started because of Joe's conspiracy corner on Alice and the pushback that got.
But it was fun. People loved it, don't they? They love it. And
They did.
nowadays it's a dirty word. It's
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then that's when I got drug in.
Ah.
We built all the, literally, not passively. They drugged me into this, kicking and screaming. Yeah, keep smiling, Scooter.
All right, so how can they find us? And let's go and let's call this a bad day with a good view with Jackie Selby.
Well, it's fun to talk to other people about it. I would be lying to you if I didn't say that it's, not without trepidation on my part, because I've been on the radio as a goody two shoes, and
I know you've just broken my whole shattered.
What's that?
I said you just shattered my glass as well.
Oh, well, it's not that I'm not a mean-spirited or a mean-hearted person. I'm a really great, fun person. But listen, people, I also, feel like I have a sword, on my belt because stuff needs to come out. And I don't know, I might be unhireable after this. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I may know.
Get used to hearing that, Jackie. I have been told that you are absolutely unhireable in any market. And I went, thank you.
Yeah. And that could be probably a good idea. I don't know. I don't know.
Get us out of here, Backlash.
Okay.
Are we timed? Are we against the time clock or not?
No, we've got 1:52, which is perfect because you two tend to ramble on anyway. So we'll probably get out right on time this time. Joe, tell everybody where they can find us, even though they're watching it right now.
2 places. We can go to the conspiracykeepers.com. I should say conspiracykeepers.com, where we have all the shows recorded. I mean, you can find it on YouTube, but don't go there because YouTube kind of censors people. I shouldn't say they kind of. As a matter of fact, they've taken at least one of our shows down because we said things we weren't supposed to say. So you want to go to our website because that's where everything is. And a website that I've had since 2007, which is the conspiracyzone.net. And that one, they're both linked together. So you want to go to either one of those places. But for these shows, go to conspiracykeepers.com.
Thank you.
Jackie, how does the World Wide Web find you?
That's a good question. I guess at JackieSelby.com.
Awesome.
I want to spell your name.
Not now. I'm not going to.
Yeah, there it is. That's what I was waiting for. Yeah, exactly.
Next episode, man. Next episode.
Well, hopefully, we'll be back with another episode here in just a few minutes. But for those of you that have joined us today, thank you so much to Joe Monaco, Scooter McGee, and Jackie Selby for joining us.
Thanksgiving, everybody.
Today.
Thanks, guys.
We'll be back with another episode here shortly.
Hail of all.